Okay, so today we're going to be discussing something that could possibly happen. Not anywhere, anytime soon, but potentially something that could happen if, Resident Evil 4 does end up being remade. And that is Resident Evil 5. Obviously, if you don't know, Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 4 on a gameplay level are very much the same. You got tank controls, which aren't actually that bad. If you would think about it, they're not too bad. In 4 and 5, they do some getting used to when you first start doing it, but it was quite fluid when you get like midway through the game. And then of course, obviously, Resident Evil 5 versus Resident Evil 4, there is a co-op partner again, but this time obviously they fight with you, and they can pick up things, and trade things with you, where in 4 it was just kind of, Ashley would just kind of follow you around and hide behind you and stuff like that. She was useful in some ways, like for certain puzzles, but not really near as useful as Sheva in Resident Evil 5. Having said that, the AI for Sheva in 5 versus Ashley in 4, for me personally, I would say isn't as good. It's kind of dumb. It'll either, just kind of get itself killed stupidly, heal you when you took it one single hit, and it will heal you with like a first aid spray, which is essentially like a full heal. Like you take one hit and then you'll be fully healed by your AI partner again. They'll get stuck, they'll be kind of delayed, and more importantly, they'll get in your way constantly. But obviously, Resident Evil 5 is kind of built for co-op play rather than single player. It can be played in single player, and I've played through the game multiple times alone, and a few times with people, so there is an experience, and it definitely differs between having an online player with you or the AI. But of course, the important topic is, is it necessary to remake 5? And that could be said, the same for about 4. People do not want 4 to be remade. Some people do. Some people feel like it will be good for it. Some people feel like it just isn't necessary, but they wouldn't mind it. And then some people just kind of don't want it at all, which I kind of understand. At the end of the day, whether the remake comes out and it's amazing, or the remake comes out and it's not so good, it still wouldn't come close to the original. You know what I mean? Like how Resident Evil 4 is now. If you play it now, the tone of it and like the attitude of it and just like the cheesiness of it, it would disappear. I feel like it would go away or just not be as good. Like some of the stuff in that game, whether it's gameplay or certain sequences of the game or the dialogue, it's all kind of just set in stone. And I feel like that's the same with 5. There's some set pieces in 5 and some characters and dialogue. And believe me, 5 does have some cheesy moments in it too, especially near the end with like Neo Wesker. But some of that stuff would kind of not be the same in a remake, you know what I mean? But I understand it on a gameplay level. Like maybe they just want to bring the games up to like how Resident Evil 2 plays, it's a third person, actual fluid third person game, which could be, what 4 and 5 need, and what they only need to make them better. But talking about 5 specifically now, like this is what the video is about, remaking 5. Is it necessary? For me, I would like to see it, but at the same time, I kind of do sit on the fence with the whole, it would be nice, but it's not really something I'm really wanting. For you, if you didn't know, Resident Evil 5 is probably definitely my top 5 games in the series. Yes, it's not as horror focused as the main games people love and stuff like that, but this was kind of one of the entry points for me. Like I did play the originals, I did play 4 on and off, but 5 came out when I was, God, I don't know how old, like I was young when 5 came out, and this was the first game I fully played through and experienced, and I went back and played all the others, and this is what got me there. So this is, for me, it's like kind of a bigger deal to have it like remade or something like that, because I played this game to death, had it on PS3, played it through, bought it on PS4, played it through, went back to it again, played it through. I've played this game through a lot, and I have 100% of this game multiple times. It's just a fun game, and obviously playing with other people is also fun. Like I've gone through this game with like open lobbies, and random people join me and just trying to help them do stuff in the game because it's fun. I know the game like the back of my hand at this point, so I can kind of just sit and play it with anyone and kind of carry them through it. You know what I mean? But if it is the case, and again, this is a big if this does, happen to be a thing that does happen, there is a few things I do want to point out that could be beneficial from a remake of the game. Maybe they wouldn't be, but for me, this is what I personally feel could benefit from a remake. So again, it's all opinion, and it's all kind of, again, speculation, because this couldn't happen, this might not happen. If the 4-1 does happen, which I'm pretty sure it is, then if that does well, and you know they still get good sales from remakes, and you know I'd imagine 4 will do really well if it gets remade, because it's, you know, probably the most loved out of all of them. They could potentially do 5. I do not think there'll be a 6, by the way. I'm gonna say that now. I do not think they'll remake Resident Evil 6. Purely because not only does it play really well anyway, like it's not a tank game, it's a third-person action shooter, but it just wasn't received very well. Is it a bad game? Absolutely not. Is it a good Resident Evil game? Absolutely not. Like, I just don't feel like that's going to be, again, a remake. But 5, there is a potential for 5. So now we're going to jump into, like I said, you know, what could be done with this game to make it good in the remake. But, again, all opinion. Alright, so first up, obviously, would be, you know, making the game more fluid controls-wise. Now, I do not have a problem with tank controls. You know, I actually quite enjoy it, and it does kind of feel nostalgic going back and playing this game with these controls. If you don't know what I'm talking about, essentially, if you play 4 and 5, you'll know what it's like, but basically what it is you can't move and shoot. You move, you stop, aim and shoot. And then you move again to like reposition, and then you stop, aim and shoot. Like you can't run and shoot, it can't be done. And it does add a layer of like, you know, tactical kind of awareness. Like you have to place yourself in a good place, else you're just gonna get destroyed. You need to make the distance. You can't just, you know, move and shoot. You have to kind of position yourself perfectly. And with the AI, that can be kind of annoying because you'll run to one place and they'll just be on the other side of the map, and then we're like, oh, okay. But sometimes in the big combat areas in this game, the AI does not stay with you, or it will get separated and it won't come back. It will be busy shooting. But you know, having that fluidity, like the 2 remake or the 3 remake in this game, could kind of benefit mainly because of the AI. You know, you can kind of keep the AI alive, because, you know, if the AI dies in this game, that's a game over. Like, that's just it. And sometimes, especially on hard difficulties, you just can't get to them in time. They'll just die. So, updating the, you know, the fluidity of the game with, you know, the same kind of, you know, how 2 remake players, 3 remake players, you know, 7, 8, you know, all those type of games, that would be really, really good for the game, I personally believe. Saying that, of course, it would be cool if there was an option to switch between the 2. Obviously, you know, some people do kind of like really enjoy the tank controls, and again, I quite enjoy it too, so having an option to kind of play with or without that kind of control would be really cool. I'd imagine people would like that with 4 Remake as well, just to have an option to either play it fluidly or just kind of switch it back to the original controls, and that would be super cool to see. Next up, this is a little pet peeve for me. Definitely look at reworking the inventory system in this game, because there's a lot of weapons. There is a lot of weapons in this game, and you do not have a lot of inventory space. Obviously, it's shared between the 2 characters. You know, you both have the same inventory space, so you can switch whatever you want. And, you know, each weapon takes up 1 slot, so it's not like you've got to mix and match. But maybe update the inventory either to have more spaces, or even like, and I can't believe I'm saying it, even give, you know, both characters an attached case level kind of system. And obviously, you know, 4 has that, no, 8 has that as well. I feel like maybe they might overdo it if they did that, but I do feel like definitely reworking the inventory system with an attached case system would be super cool for 5. But, you know, obviously then there's a bit more management between 2 players, you know, because you have to organise things perfectly. Weapons take up different spaces, you know, bigger weapons take up more room. It'd be super cool to see that with like a 2-player dynamic. Personally, I would like to see that, but unlikely. I do think that's unlikely. Next, I would say probably maybe flesh out some of the extra characters in the game. Obviously, you know, the game follows Chris and Sheva for the most part, and there's a couple of DLCs that follow Jill and the other guy. I don't remember his name. Yeah, the guy I'm talking about. Josh, maybe, I think his name is. That could be it. I'm not too sure. But, maybe flesh those out, because obviously there is a bit where you save Jill in the game and then you kind of separate, and obviously in the DLC there's kind of sync that up. Well, it would be cool to like either add that DLC in as like a completely extra bit to the main game instead of making it separate, and then again, you know, like with the beginning of this chapter there's a flashback, so you can see what happens to Jill initially. Just add that in as part of the game instead of making DLC. Not only would make the game longer, but you could even flesh that out a bit better. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it'd just be super cool to see, because I don't mind these like extra DLCs where they kind of like fill in a bit of the story, but if you can just add that in to the main campaign instead of just being an extra DLC option, that'd be super cool to see. And then one thing, this is a very small thing again, but you know, there is obviously a lot of extra modes in this game. You know, there's Mercenaries, which is, I actually really like Mercenaries in this game. Again, Mercenaries is super fun. It's in, you know, a few games. It's in 4, it's in 5, it's in 6, it's in 8. And it's a lot of fun. But 5 also had a lot of PvP modes as well, which, again, they were not terrible. They were not great, because PvP with this type of control was quite awkward. But again, seeing those fleshed out and maybe brought back with, like, again, like a more free flow idea of play would be super cool. But yeah, that's basically going to cover it. I mean, there's not an awful lot to say on this matter, because there's potential that it won't even happen. But if it does, and, you know, going off of what they inevitably do with the 4 remake, they could implement a lot of that into a 5 remake, because on a gameplay level, it's very much the same, but also kind of different in its own way. But, you know, I feel like a good co-op game in the Resident Evil series would be cool, and what better way to do that than, you know, remaking an already established one, because 5 is a good game. I'll not lie, 5 is a really good game. 6, completely different, but 5, it's just actiony enough, but also not over the top enough to still be good. Where 6 just kind of went, okay, you are now playing a third-person COD game, especially with Chris's campaign. Leon's campaign is the best one for its reasons, but the rest of it's kind of weird. But that's gonna do it. This is my kind of like, it's not really wish listing, I guess, but it's kind of like an idea of what they could do with a 5 remake, and if it's even necessary, because again, I kind of do sit on the fence with it. Hey, like I said, it would be nice to see, but I'm not really asking for it, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that's gonna do it. Let me know what you think about 5, and you know, whether you feel like it could get some kind of treatment like 4 will or not. Just let me know down below. Thank you for watching. Obviously, leave a like if you did enjoy. And yeah, that'll do it. As always, you know, if you're interested in seeing more Resident Evil content and stuff kind of similar to it, then do subscribe and turn notifications so you do not miss an upload. And I do stream at weekends, so you'll be notified immediately when I go live, and you just come and hang out. And if you need to reach me directly, I'll leave a link to my Twitter in the description. I'll basically answer anyone, so feel free to do that. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.